Hi, everyone, and welcome to the I Am Landscape Growth Podcast, where entrepreneurs help entrepreneurs grow faster, better, and stronger in the green industry. From leadership to sales to recruiting and operational excellence, we cover the topics holding entrepreneurs back and share how to get past those bottlenecks with the best in the industry. I'm your host, Rob Murray, co founder and CEO of Intrigue, a digital marketing company focused on helping landscape companies grow. So sit back and enjoy the show. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the I Am Landscape Growth Podcast. Today, I have an amazing guest, Linda Reindl, joining us from the Florida Nursery Growers and Landscape Association. Linda, thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's great to be here.
Linda has a kind of a neat perspective on the industry as a director of education at the association, kind of tasked with bringing people in to help grow entrepreneurs, grow the industry, help educate people so they can figure out how to, get their businesses faster, better, stronger. So I'm just excited to have it. I think the perspective is going to be really helpful for a lot of people listening right now. So maybe you can just give us a quick rundown of your time at the association and how you've gotten to where you are now and some of the things, the trends that you've seen changing over the last, say, 5 or 10 years in terms of what these entrepreneurs need in the green industry to grow their businesses.
Sure. I started out back in my 20s, very green. I will
No
say,
pun intended.
no pun intended. But didn't have a lot of background in the horticultural or nursery and landscape industry. But my background was in marketing and PR. And it has been an incredible journey. I think the reason I have stayed with the industry for over 30 years was because it's the people, it's the industry and the just they we work hard, we play hard, we believe in sharing information. And so my job as director of education has been just an incredible journey working with industry members, working with bringing in speakers that we hope can help build the professionalism of the industry and um, help shape how we go forward into the future. I also wear another hat, which is our National Horticulture Foundation's exec, and we work hard with providing scholarships and education to students who are pursuing their careers in horticulture and also identifying research that the industry needs. So that's kind of where my role has been over the years. At FNGLA and in association management, we wear many hats and we
Yeah.
have to figure out how to make it all fit. So.
That's and what you said about the industry, I think, is very fitting. Like at Intrigue, we've participated in many different industries over the years. We've been around whatever 17 years, and I have to say that the landscape industry across the board, Canada, USA, all are more open than the average group in terms of sharing information about what works and what doesn't, and what to avoid, and really just everybody's trying to help each other. It's super refreshing and it is a ton of fun. Like the people are just a blast no matter where you go. It's really cool. So when it comes to education and increasing the professionalism or building up the professionalism of the industry, there's no question it's working. 5 years ago, we would be in a room and we'd ask somebody like, who's heard of Simon Sinek? Crickets. Who's heard of Jim Collins? Crickets. Who's heard of Michael Gerber, E-Myth Revisited? Literally nobody, people, maybe some people knew, but no one was putting their hands up. Last year we did our tour, we did maybe 15 talks, whatever, and half the room know these people now. And these are the best of the best, that have made all the mistakes, done all the research and are writing. So I think that the industry is definitely becoming more professional. So I mean that's a hats off to the work you and people like you across Canada and the US are doing. So then this year, over years ago, in terms of trying to bring education, so to the landscape show, as an example, in July, what do you see as like the number one or two issues that your members need to address, so that you're bringing speakers in to address those issues? What are they?
Well, first of all, it's funny that you say you mentioned some of the leaders in educating or speakers. We brought Simon Sinek's information to our leaders of the association probably about 5 years ago, and asking the question of what's your why. And so that's so cool that you mentioned him and some of the other ones as far as speakers. But in regards to the common thread, or the two topics that I think that we're really focusing in on, is of course labor. Everybody is, it's labor, 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 and then it's the marketing. I always used to say, we as an industry knew how to grow a really good plant. We knew how to um, plant a good plant, but as far as marketing ourselves and the industry and our professionalisms, we had some room to grow. And so I think that that's where a lot of the topics and the things that we talk about for either our Knowledge College at the Landscape Show or some of the other standalone educational programs, that it's how do we market ourselves better? What's the best way of doing that? Whether it's social media, whether it's face to face, what are those elements that we need to look at? And then from labor, it's how do we recruit better people, or train industry members? How do we retain those that are going to help our businesses grow? So I think those are the two primary.
Yeah, and I love it. I mean, this is not news, I think, but a lot of people don't necessarily admit the marketing side. And the last 3 years, the wind has been in the industry's back. So, even 12 months ago, if you could do the job, you got the job. And then 8 months ago, it softened. Now this year, we're seeing it not quite as strong as a year ago. And so, sharpening that marketing sword so that you can differentiate yourself and maintain some price control, because the last thing you want to do is just lower prices for the sake of getting jobs. I mean, that's not good for anybody. It's super important. So we'll get to that one in a minute. I think that's really important. I'm also biased because we're a marketing company, so we'll get there. But the labor, like this everybody's saying it, right? And then we're seeing the advent of, robotic, mowers and equipment, to, we don't want to say replace people, but we're not necessarily replacing them because there's no one to replace. We're just getting the job done with an alternative, I guess, is more the idea. But I think what you said is really important about, like, how do we recruit, how do we train, and how do we retain more people? And one of the things that's come up pretty consistently as a theme in the podcast, talking to people about, successful people that have recruited and maintained a really, high growth path, they essentially consider themselves to be a training company. They just happen to be in landscaping. And one of the things we're hearing across industries, not just landscape, is that young and not so young people want skill development. They want to be able to build their career. And if they're in a place where they don't see that opportunity, the odds of them staying there are pretty low. So when it comes to training and development, do you know of anybody doing a really good job, or what are you seeing people do that's working?
I think it's interesting. Some of the conversations that we have with our committee when we're talking about it is really kind of what you touched on, is that the new generation of our workforce, if they don't see their opportunities or see ways that they can grow, they're moving on. They don't have that job loyalty of staying for the 30 years, or they're really looking for ways that they can move. So I think offering our or companies offering members incentives or in training that will help that individual grow is the important part. Help
Big time.
yeah, just I don't know. I think there's a lot of companies out there trying, but it's identifying what those different roles are and what are the steps for those current employees to move up and become better, I think is what their success will be.
Yeah, and I find a lot of time talking to entrepreneurs that building a training program can be quite daunting. So
Hmm.
like, they have an organization, say of 20, 30 people, whatever it might be. You've got, some green newbies, you've got some seasoned folks, you've got some tenured staff. And, to build a one size fits all training program doesn't necessarily work because everybody's at different places. So it's like, how do you start? Then you start building something, and then the next person that comes in uses it, but then it gets left and collects dust. But there's an association that just happens to provide training for all different levels of folks. So can you give us a little bit of an insight in terms of like if I'm an entrepreneur in Florida and I want to train my team, how can I leverage the FNGLA to support, training our staff?
Well, we're very fortunate with FNGLA to have actually 7 certification programs. Our director of certification and our certification department is a department of 2, but they manage anywhere from our initial program, which is the Florida Certified Horticulture Professional. That's the base program. And then additional certifications that landscape companies can offer their members, from maintenance to the landscape technician to the whole certified contractor. And even though they're not a required license certification, it's a professional certification. It allows our industry members to be able to elevate their employees to a different level, and an opportunity to train them. So we have a really robust certification program at FNGLA, and that's a perfect opportunity for employers to offer something to their employees, and really to help identify what employee is going to move up that ladder. And then, we all know in the landscape industry, there's certain ones that will always be the ones, on the tractor or
Yeah,
more.
steady Eddie, no problem
And
there.
that's what they want. They don't want to rise to the level, but there are, that's I think a challenge for an employer to identify the difference between those and the ones who are looking to move up the ladder.
Yeah, that's cool. And one of the things I think is really important in this whole thing is, as much as they might not be um a mandatory or required certification in order to operate. But then if you flip that into the other thing that you're talking about in terms of holding people back about marketing, if you have a staff fully certified in a statewide association certification, and then you go compete for a job and you've got a staff of fully certified people against a business that doesn't, as a consumer, my trust level is way higher with a certified group. So I think that's amazing. And then the fact is, I can just send my people there and not have to do it is also important. So if someone's considering using the program, what would the time commitment be for somebody who's getting trained? I know it varies a little bit, but just to give a ballpark so people can have an idea of what kind of commitment it is over time.
Well, the base certification takes a little bit longer. There's like there are courses offered that could be anywhere from 6 weeks to, a semester type of a course. And then there's a test involved. You don't, as an industry member, have to go through that course, but that really, when they're offered, it gives you a basis. It teaches you the things that you need to know to be successful in the test. The others, what's been very successful for us with FNGLA is our certification department has gone around the state to offer reviews and offer the testing for employees. So if a company is looking to certify a dozen of their staff members, or they will actually come to you and do the testing.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's super easy for them.
And what does it cost to do something like that? If I wanted, let's say every new team member I brought on board, I wanted to have them get involved with this
Yeah.
foundational certification. And we're gonna go look on the website, I guess, while we're doing this.
Actually, they probably want to refer to Mary Mott in our office. I'm not sure all the specific costs, so I don't want to give you the wrong pricing on it.
No, that's okay.
Um,
That's okay.
but Mary in our office would be super helpful in providing all of those specific prices.
I'm just wondering if I can find something quick here. Learn more. We're talking about the FCHP, right?
Yeah, that's the basis of
It's
our program.
$120. It's nothing.
Yeah, yeah.
So like if someone's listening to this, like, oh, 50, $100, 3 grand. No, no, no. $120.
Yeah.
Like it could be easily part of our recruitment budget, to
Well,
have
and
somebody.
that's the manual cost, and then they're required to have CEUs over a 3-year period. But that manual is priceless. That manual goes everything from plant identification to pesticide to or
You name it.
you name it, pest management to interior information. So it's a super good manual just to have as a resource.
And then there's online training available. You have to pass with 70% or higher in every section, and the exam is $90.
Yep.
So you're looking at, 6 weeks to 3 months, $200 all in, and you've got somebody certified on your team. Like, yeah, it seems like a no-brainer. Everybody should be taking advantage of that.
Yeah, it's a super way to again elevate the professionalism of
Well,
your
and then you
company.
got everybody on the same page, from a base understanding inside the organization. And then there's more after that. So you can just go to fngla.org under professional development if you want to check out the programs available.
And what's
Okay.
really great is that once they do get their certification, FNGLA provides those additional educational opportunities for them to get continuing ed credits that they'll need to keep their certification. And so it not only provides a network, but it provides additional ways for them to become educated or more professional in their roles. So
Over the time of their career, ongoing.
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
very, very cool. So then let's flip over to this, other piece you mentioned about marketing and landscapers have been historically really good at planting plants and growing plants, but not necessarily promoting themselves. And so, this year being one of the main themes for the landscape show conference being held in July, or August, sorry. What do you see as some of the pieces that aren't happening or that need to be happening?
Um, I think a lot of things that we're offering are, how to build your social media presence, how to um, utilize some of those marketing materials. I see more and more landscape companies trying to offer podcasts, just like we're doing right now, or offer um, connections on social media. LinkedIn is a super way for companies to offer or showcase what they're doing. I think from a design company, the anything visual can be a super good marketing tool for them. Show them what you're doing and allow um, your customers to be able to see uh, the success that your company can bring.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, and one of the things I think should be told or said is that there's a fundamental principle when it comes to marketing and sales. A lot of people just kind of miss.
Yeah.
And it's the idea people hate to be sold, but they love to buy. And so often we see people trying to sell people on their services. This is why we're good. This is why you should pick us. Here's the 3 reasons here's our process. It's just all about me. Look at me, buy from me. Where, like, if you walk into a department store and you're there to buy something and someone comes up to you and says, "Can I help you?" What's your default? No, thanks.
No,
Just looking.
yeah, yeah, I'm okay. Yeah,
I'm good.
I think I think that that's where education plays such an incredible role at, in the marketing aspect of your company. Um, we saw it when COVID happened, and where, I know we're talking landscaping, but the interior-scape industry or segment of our industry just boomed during COVID. And it was because people had opportunities to be at home and learn about things. And I think consumers really want to know, well, what is this? How is this plant going to look in my landscaping or my front yard? Um, the more you can educate your customers on, watering techniques, or what the new plant varieties that they might consider trying, or anything like that, then you become that expert that they're going to go to and say, I want more of this. I want more plants in the front yard, and it sells itself.
Yeah, that's, I mean, and that I love it because so the Google Marketing Live conference was last week, and there's a new model called Gemini, which is going to be essentially Google's AI being brought into everything. And as much as the technology is shifting rapidly and the platform is going to change drastically, like you'll start seeing it in the next couple of weeks and how your search results are actually changing now. They're the number one theme of Google has not changed, and it's to help people.
Mhm.
So if we build content that's designed to help a consumer understand how to do something, how to maintain something, how to hire something better, it's always going to do well. And it's because people want that information that helps them become a more astute customer. And I think this is where we've seen some really great successes, especially with social media on YouTube and even in, Instagram, but videos of how to do stuff with experts on your team. So people actually get to know people. Like we see it on websites all the time when people inquire, they're like, I saw Dave's YouTube video. I want to speak to Dave, and Dave isn't a sales guy or anything, but they've built a relationship with Dave, but watching his how-to stuff. And that can go a long way. And then the last thing I think is just really important, because a lot of people miss it, is like you need to be there when someone looks for you.
Mhm.
And as much as it seems simple, because it is, it's an, to say it sounds intuitive, but getting some people to Google services, not your name, just Google the types of services you do and see how well you rank. Everybody gets emails all the time about we can get you to the top of Google from people all over the world saying they can do that, but they don't excessively tell you for what. And one thing, I guess, just as a tip for people listening right now, in 2023, the most profitable search term, so the search term with the highest commercial intent, with the highest value projects, was landscape contractor near me. But a lot of people don't have landscape contractor as a term they're trying to rank for. So there's a ton of opportunity to look into the data, and Google provides a really great opportunity to do that. But be there when people are looking is super important.
I agree. I agree.
And
People,
then oh, go ahead.
no, they just, I don't think that's changed over the years. It's just educate, 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 whether it's educate the industry or whether it's educate consumers. So,
Yeah, and the thing is, some people, to your point, like they'll gravitate to it, and then and a lot of times people will say things like, well, we don't want to necessarily do DIY videos because our customer aren't DIYers. No, they're not, but they want to learn what's involved, and then they want to hire you because they know you know how to do it. So and there might be some DIYers that take it and use it and whatever. It's fine. That's not going to hurt anybody. But it definitely builds a lot of trust, showing people that you know what you're talking about and giving it all away. Educate, educate, educate. So then, but if you go the other way, so I mean, we're a digital marketing company, so that's my slant. But if you look at face-to-face and community involvement, over the years, whether it's getting involved with hospital foundations in your area, or fundraisers and networking in your community, is there anything that kind of pops out from your perspective that's been kind of a constant, this is working, this always is important for people, because we see it all the time, the more involved you are in your community at any level over a period of time, you build a reputation as someone who cares. And again, people want to buy from people they trust. And if you care, they trust you. So anything you've seen
Well, I
helpful
think
in that line?
with FNGLA, we have local chapters of FNGLA that work very closely with a lot of the local communities to either do community projects, community gardens. They work with FFA students to actually inspire them to get into the industry. So I think we're very fortunate because FNDLA is one of the largest nursery and landscape associations across the country. So we have a lot of members and a lot of different chapters across the state that can engage with their local communities, and it makes a tremendous difference. We,
Yeah.
plant sales and that kind of thing too.
Yeah. Plant sales, fundraisers for schools, community gardens. There's so many applications. Like if you're a landscaper and you haven't done a community garden project, I mean, put it on the list of things to get done this year or next. That's a huge opportunity, whether it's a mental health piece, or maybe it's for seniors, or maybe it's for young kids getting into it and you do it at a school. There's so many opportunities for that. That's cool. So you did mention 5 years ago that Simon Sinek was brought, or that content was brought into leadership at the executive level. What is one or two resources, authors, speakers that you've found over the last couple of years that really hit home you think people should check out?
Simon Sinek's one of my favorite. I love listening to him and the way he does or approaches leadership, and so I think it was very fitting for our organization. From an industry perspective, Jeff McManus, he's out of the University of Mississippi. He's one of our speakers at the landscape show in August. Does a super job. He not only speaks to the industry, but he has webinars and podcasts that he offers to our industry. And because he was in the industry and he understands training programs and how to recruit and how to retain, he is a tremendous resource and fun to listen to. So I really enjoy him.
Well, I think he'll be stoked that you put him in the same sentence as Simon Sinek. I mean, that's
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. So
Cool.
there's a lot of we have such a great resource of experts in the industry. That's made my job real fun planning because so many people are willing to share their information.
Love it. Well, thank you for doing this, Linda. And thanks everybody for listening to another episode of the I Am Landscape Growth Podcast.
Well, thanks for having me.